I'm with Emmanuel Maniadakis here in the main room here at your orchard where all the good stuff is. We're going to be talking about wine, ice wine, and apple cider, and how much stuff is added into commercial wines, and even the point where in Canada they can use up to 40% foreign content like Chinese syrups and stuff in apple juices. And in your wines, which are all like organic and certified, none of that's there.
No, none of that's there because in organic there's traceability. So inspectors come here every year and they go over the amount of crop, and then they derive as to what amount of juice or what amount of wine you could make. It doesn't make sense for me to buy fruit from somewhere else because, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, winemaking is all about terroir.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know what terroir is the growing conditions, the actual climatic conditions of that given year, the structure of your soil, whether it's sandy, clay soil, or rocky soil, and the input of the grower. In other words, what skills the grower has and how he prunes his trees and how he takes care of them and everything else. That's what's going to give you the flavor of the wine. So obviously you're going to go with an indigenous yeast, a yeast that grows on your particular fruit in your particular piece of the world. That's what terroir is all about. So in organic, in biodynamic, which is we're certified organic, biodynamic, and we also do natural wine, like our ice cider products.
Well, your organic apple ice wine, that little tiny bottle right there?
Yeah.
This one? Yeah.
Both of these guys.
But the little one, which is the apple,
Yeah.
the 209, how many pieces of fruit go into one of those bottles?
You probably have about 80 apples or so going in there because you lose well over 80% of the juice is mainly consists of water.
Mm-hmm.
So when we do an ice wine or an ice cider, we do it the real way, where we let the apples freeze on the trees. So
these aren't spoilage, these aren't ones that fell off the trees, this isn't the junk that gets, well, not junk, but this isn't the stuff that's used for cider, but
this is perfect, healthy, perfectly grown fruit. I mean, this is natural wine. It's all about the quality of your fruit. It's not about what you can do in the winery. A fine wine is grown, not made. So the quality of the fruit does it all. So if the fruit is not in good shape, if it's ill or if it's affected by insects or whatnot, it won't hang in there all winter long.
Now, do you use nitrates and chemicals? Like what are you allowed to use in this stuff, or what do you use?
I don't use anything. I use nothing, zero, zip. We take the frozen fruit, which is harvested from December to February. We press it. We take the concentrated juice and we let it ferment for well over a year on its own natural indigenous yeast, because the yeast is what's going to develop the character of your wine. It's what's going to distinguish the alcohol rate, the residual sugar rate, the flavor. Everything is done. It's the yeast that does it all. Does
the variety of apple that you use for your ice wine and your pear wine matter? Does it impact?
Yes. It's all about. I do know adjustments of acidity, which you normally are done with chemical products. It's simply a selection of apples. So I have certain apples that are sweeter, some that are more acidic. So I mix a huge variety of them to derive with a formula that'll give me the results that I want. It's all done naturally via selection of apples.
Now, you were talking about some of the different ice wines that are available at the SAQ and other outlets, how some ice wines are cut up and pre-frozen, and then some are higher quality like your own. How does the public tell the difference when they're shopping?
Well, that's just it. I mean, there's a lot of marketing done, and the public really has to know a lot lot about a wine. There's two methods that are done in Quebec that are accepted. One is called cryo extraction, which is the natural method of letting nature extract the water and bake your apple, caramelize it. That's why you get all these different notes and tones in a wine. And then they also allow cryo concentration, which is juice that's pressed, in the fall, and it's either put in a plastic container where the container is put outside and it's left to freeze, or it's put in a freezer and it's left to freeze in a freezer. And then, a yeast is introduced into it, and a whole array of chemicals, and a month later you have a wine. But basically, the consumer has to look at pricing. There's no quality wine. That's going to be in the $15 or $20. It's got to be pretty much $30 and upwards.
And is there a way of them knowing if what was used was all Canadian or Quebec fruit, or?
No, there's no way where, the law is made that allows transformers to use up to 40% non-Canadian product in a Canadian product.
That seems insane.
It's very insane.
Yeah. So if people want to sample, because you have samples if they come up to your orchard here in Franklin, yes. Where do they go?
Well, they come right here in our little boutique, and we would be more than happy to give them free samples, or you could actually, you could taste the difference. Our ice cider tastes completely different than anybody else's ice cider on the market, simply because we're the only ones that ferment on indigenous yeast, and we have a high-quality organic apple that goes into it. And
now, I notice you have different vintages from 209 to 213 here. Is there a big difference between years?
Yeah, there's always a difference, and that's the exciting or fun part about wine tasting and wine making. Just as no one year is identical as far as growing conditions are to the next. There's always a difference in rainfall, there's always a difference in temperature. So all these things will affect they'll give you slight differences in flavor and difference in alcohol content. There's no way that you're going to be able to make the exact same alcohol content year after year. So that's sort of a little giveaway. If you're buying a product and the taste is identical and the alcohol content is identical for the last 10 years, that's manipulated.
And for a Canadian or Quebec wine, you just won a prestigious award in Europe.
Yeah, we won. We picked up gold in Germany in an international open wine competition where we beat out other European ice wines. We got a full 92 points and a gold medal. We've won silver here in Quebec at Mondial de Cider Glace. We've won bronze in Finger Lakes International. We've won bronze again in Wine Line Canada. So, we enter competitions, we do fairly well because the product is quality, but then we're competing with wines that are made by, famous international winemakers where, they could probably take my old set of running shoes and add a little sugar and water and a bunch of chemistry and come up with a great tasting wine. Because basically that's what it is. You're drinking. The quality of fruit makes no difference. Most of these guys buy fruit. They grow a small amount and they buy the rest from anywhere. So it's not about terroir, it's not about quality of fruit, it's about what a certain analog that you hired or winemaker makes a certain flavor.
As opposed to it being about the basics of the quality of what you start with to get to your finished product.
Exactly. In natural winemaking, which is the highest and most difficult level of winemaking, we don't use yeast. We're not allowed to use yeast, so you have to go with indigenous yeast. So you can't grow fruit chemically because you'll be using fungicides, therefore killing your yeast. So it has to be organically grown fruit, and then it has to be quality fruit, because if the fruit is half rotting, you're going to have it. It's going to turn to vinegar basically. So it's a high risk proposition. and it's a long fermentation. We ferment for well over a year in low temperature to capture the fine aromas and
There's a lot of different flavors and hints
hints
in the
and
samplings
notes.
that I had.
Yeah, that's it. That's from a year-long fermentation. And then we let it clarify and stabilize naturally for at least another year, if not longer. So by the time it hits market, you know, if you include the growing year, you're talking well over 3 years.
So the name of the website?
Our website is organicappleiceWine.com or organicorchard.net.
All right, and Facebook?
Facebook also, we're under Organic Apple, Eros, which is the name of our brand, Eros Organic Apple Ice Wine. And also under my name, Emmanuel Maniadakis. I got 2 pages
Okay.
on there.
And Twitter?
And Twitter, absolutely. Bioman at Twitter.
All right, I think it's time for more sampling.
Sure, why not?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.